Back in those days, the Rainbow Immortal Venerable, with cultivation at the mid-void tribulation stage, established his own sect and gathered countless disciples. Even the Great Soul sect treated him with courtesy. A cultivator of such stature was one worthy of respect. With Wang Lin's strength, he could prevail against those at the early void tribulation stage. Killing them would be difficult, but not impossible. Yet when facing an ancient monster like the Rainbow Immortal Venerable at his peak, the gap became far too vast. Even with 9 origin sources and his cultivation having reached the early profound void stage, the difference was still insurmountable. At most, it gave him the qualifications to stand at a turning point, nothing more. To truly resist an old monster at the mid-void tribulation stage, Wang Lin would need his cultivation to reach the late profound void stage, or for his Daogu inheritance to carry him past the final decay tribulation. But Wang Lin's entire life had been forged in crises. At times, killing did not rely solely on cultivation, it depended on other factors as well. Yet now, he was utterly unprepared. Behind him, an old monster at the mid-void tribulation stage was pursuing relentlessly. That man's shifting arts had sealed the heavens and earth in this region. For a short while, Wang Lin could not break free. If caught, his death would be certain. At this moment of peril, Wang Lin's cultivation roared to life, fusing into the mosquito beast's body. Its speed surged once more as it frantically shot forward. Behind him, Zhang Daozong advanced with calm expression, but his eyes radiated overwhelming killing intent. His strides thundered as he pursued. "Let's see how you escape from me this time, boy." Zhang Daozong still brooded over being tricked by Wang Lin before. Now, with Wang Lin having slain Lu Ziyuan, he could not explain himself to his sect master. His desire to kill Wang Lin had become an obsession. As for the battlefield consequences of his departure, he cared little. The truth was, this pursuit had long been part of Green Devil Continent's plan, laid specifically for Wang Lin. The plan was simple. Sacrifice countless cultivators to make the deception convincing, drag out the battle, and force Wang Lin to appear. If Green Devil Continent wished, they could have ended this second war quickly. Their reinforcements had already arrived 2 days ago. But instead of revealing themselves, they hid their presence, for one purpose only, to kill Wang Lin. What Wang Lin had done inside the Alchemy Sea had enraged the 3 ancestor-level figures of Green Devil Continent. They issued a kill order. Wang Lin had to die. For each of his actions shook heaven and earth. He had killed the incarnation of Green Devil prodigy Yun Kong, ruined the immortal pill plan of the Alchemy Sea, caused the pill to collapse prematurely, shook Green Devil Continent itself with catastrophic destruction, and slaughtered more than half of their cultivators within the Alchemy Sea. And that was before. Now he had also slain Lu Ziyuan of the Dao Demon sect, and perhaps even treacherously murdered Su Ditsai as well. With this chain of events, Wang Lin had become Green Devil Continent's #1 target for elimination from the very start of this war between the 2 continents. Almost the instant Zhang Daozong began his chase, 100,000 miles away from the battlefield, 4 auras erupted into the heavens. All 4 were mid-void tribulation stage. Even more shocking, as those 4 auras appeared, the mist-choked sky of the extreme heaven grasslands suddenly turned an eerie green. That green condensed into the form of a colossal scorpion. The scorpion let out ear-splitting shrieks as waves of green mist spread downward, pressing upon the battlefield. Green demon emissaries. Lu Wenran, locked in battle with Elder Zhao, turned deathly pale the moment he felt the 4 auras surge and saw the giant green scorpion above. He had once fought against a green demon emissary himself, and knew how terrifying each one was. But for appearing here at once, this was beyond anything he could have imagined. Even in the Alchemy Sea, only 3 had appeared. To Green Devil Continent, every green demon emissary was invaluable, and rarely would so many be dispatched at once. Lu Wenran's face drained of blood. He did not yet realize that all 4 emissaries had come for Wang Lin. Their presence here was incidental. Without hesitation, he retreated rapidly. Back to the underground palace. Seal the entrance. His voice carried raw fear as he barked the order. In truth, he did not even need to say it. Every Heavenly Bull Continent cultivator there, upon sensing those 4 overwhelming ancient auras and seeing the massive scorpion in the sky, immediately pulled back in terror. Only one thought remained in their minds: flee to the underground palace. For that was the final line of defense. Against 4 green demon emissaries, plus 2 more old men also at the mid-void tribulation stage, 6 in total, resistance was impossible. Ordinary cultivators could step onto the ground and instantly slip deep underground, entering the palace. This was a method available only to the cultivators of Heavenly Bull Continent. Those of Green Devil Continent could not enter the after all. The formation here still remained, fully activated. But cultivators like Lu Wenran at the Void Cataclysm stage had long been marked and would never be allowed to slip away so easily. Within the mist, for streaks of green light shot forth, while above, the colossal scorpion continued to descend, releasing waves of thick, green mist. As thunderous roars echoed, every Void Cataclysm cultivator of the Heavenly Bull Continent trapped within let out furious shouts. Clearly, their attempts to escape into the earth were being thwarted by the mist. Wang Lin, too, was caught in the mist. He could feel 4 overwhelming auras rushing toward him from the distance, and when he saw the massive green scorpion in the sky, he couldn't help but draw in a sharp breath. He knew very clearly that his only chance of survival was to make it back to the underground palace as quickly as possible. If he were too late, and the palace was sealed before he entered, then facing 6 mid-void cataclysm monsters, he would have no chance at all. Even if he used his still-maturing clone, even if he unleashed the triple life art he had not yet exhausted, the result would still be certain death. This sense of looming death was far stronger than the life-and-death dangers of ordinary battles. Without hesitation, Wang Lin urged the mosquito beast beneath him downward at full speed. As long as he touched the ground, he could merge into it and escape. But the heavens and earth here had already been sealed, preventing teleportation. It all depended on sheer speed. Just as the mosquito beast hurtled downward, Zhang Daozong was already less than 50 zhang behind him. Yet Zhang Daozong did not rush to strike. He wanted to watch Wang Lin writhe in despair before death claimed him. From the distance, another streak of green light howled closer. It was a green demon emissary, face cold and merciless, joining Zhang Daozong in the hunt for Wang Lin. To the Green Devil Continent, Wang Lin's death was a necessity, a blood debt that could not go unpaid. Unlike ordinary cultivators, these emissaries were brutally ruthless. They cared nothing for their opponent's cultivation. Even a lowly disciple at the Foundation establishment stage would be slaughtered without hesitation, with no thought that it demeaned their status. Wang Lin's pupils contracted. He was still more than 300 zhang from the ground when he saw, within the mist, Yin Luan coughing blood, her body trembling as she fled into the earth. Behind her, Su Dongda, pale-faced, also escaped downward. Other Void Cataclysm cultivators followed, injured, bloodied, yet all falling toward the ground. Lu Wenran too spat a mouthful of blood, his right arm exploding as he plunged earthward, a green demon emissary hot on his heels. If Lu Wenran enters the earth, he'll immediately seal the underground palace formation. Once that happens, I'll never get inside. I have to move, faster. Wang Lin's eyes blazed with urgency. He was less than 100 zhang from the ground when Zhang Daozong finally made his move. It's over, Zhang Daozong said coldly, lifting his right hand and pointing toward Wang Lin. The same green radiance that had filled Wang Lin with dread earlier surged forth, whistling through the air, hurtling straight toward him. In that instant, Wang Lin spun around, eyes filled with grim resolve. With a flick of his wide sleeve, the green umbrella appeared before him just as the emerald light closed in. No time to grieve over the treasure, Wang Lin roared. Explode. The world-shaking detonation split the heavens. The green radiance clashed with his self-detonated treasure, producing a massive shockwave. The blast struck Wang Lin head-on, pounding his body and forcing blood from his lips. As he plummeted, he dismissed the mosquito beast, falling until he was less than 50 zhang from the ground. Ordinarily, such a distance could be crossed in a single breath. But now it was like an uncrossable gulf, for Zhang Daozong and the ruthless green demon emissary were both within 100 zhang of him. Against 2 mid-void cataclysm monsters, Wang Lin could never bridge that final gap. And in the distance, Lu Wenran, spitting blood, had already vanished into the ground. He had seen Wang Lin, but showed not the slightest hesitation. At the very instant he entered the earth, he chose to seal the formation. He could have waited, ensuring his own safety first before closing it, but he did not. The ground trembled with violent ripples as the sealing began. Wang Lin's eyes turned bloodshot. In that moment, driven to madness, he pulled out the gourd containing 30 million souls. With a forward hurl, he bellowed, "Explode!" The grief in his heart was unbearable, but there was no time to think. As the word left his lips, nearly 30 million souls erupted from the gourd. The vessel collapsed, unleashing a heaven-shaking roar that swept across the entire extreme heaven grasslands. The detonation of 30 million souls was enough to threaten even a mid-void cataclysm cultivator. The explosion forced Zhang Daozong's expression to change drastically. His body froze, then staggered backward in retreat. The green demon emissary too frowned, his steps foul taking this chance. Wang Lin, driven by madness, leapt 50 zhang in an instant. At the very moment the great earth formation sealed shut, he merged into the ground and vanished. Had his speed been even a fraction slower, he would have been stopped on the surface. Facing 6 old monsters of the mid-void tribulation stage, even if he sacrificed all 3 of his lives, there would not have been the slightest chance of survival. But the cost was immense. The gourd holding 30 million soul strands collapsed, making Wang Lin's heart ache. Properly used, that gourd could have severely injured a mid-void tribulation stage cultivator. Yet now, it had been forced to explode, buying him only a single thread of survival. So be it. No matter how powerful that gourd was, it was still just an external object. As long as I escape this crisis, I may yet gain treasures far greater. Zhang Daozong, this hatred, I, Wang Lin, will remember it. Wang Lin's expression darkened. What had just happened was the most perilous moment he had faced since arriving on the immortal firmament continent. One misstep, and he would have fallen into Dao dissipation and body destruction, suffering complete physical and spiritual annihilation. Wang Lin had always been one to repay enmity with enmity. Zhang Daozong's strike was carved into his memory. At the same time, he also remembered Lu Wenran's actions. If Lu Wenran had only delayed sealing the ground for a moment, just waited for Wang Lin, there was a chance Wang Lin would not have needed to destroy the gourd and could still have slipped into the earth. But Lu Wenran's selfishness had nearly placed Wang Lin in mortal peril. Lu Wenran. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot, killing intent blazing. On the immortal firmament continent, he had felt no sense of belonging. Everyone and everything here had always seemed like strangers, each pursuing their own goals. But now his mindset had shifted, born from the events of that single instant. His body flickered and sank deeper underground. Soon, he saw the subterranean palace beneath the earth. Above him came booming impacts. Someone was striking the ground, trying to shatter the seal and blast into the underground palace. Though the formation here was strong, if those 6 mid-void tribulation monsters attacked without pause, sooner or later it would break. With another flash, Wang Lin entered the palace. Inside, barely 1,000 cultivators had survived and returned here. Each was battered and despondent, unable to meditate, staring instead at the ceiling while muffled thunder rolled above. Their faces carried both worry and despair. From time to time, their eyes turned toward a cluster of palaces deeper within, where a few void tribulation cultivators had retreated, all heavily wounded. The rumbling overhead grew fiercer, shaking the entire underground palace. Dirt fell from above in showers. Everyone knew it would take time for even the Green Devil Continent's powerhouses to break this formation, yet the relentless booming created an invisible, mounting pressure. Under such pressure, the weak-willed would easily fall into madness. Amid the endless rumbling, despair grew in many of the 1,000 survivors. They watched clods of soil fall, felt the tremors beneath them, and their fear thickened. It's over. They have 6 terrifying old monsters. This formation cannot protect us. Once they break through, we'll all be slaughtered. Why did the Green Devil Continent send reinforcements, but no one came for us? Are we alone here, guarding this place? There's no point guarding anymore. It's useless. They'll break through soon. We should escape while we still can. Murmurs of panic rose like a storm, echoing through the underground palace. Wang Lin sat cross-legged in his own cave dwelling, its entrance open, giving him a clear view of everything outside. He listened to the despairing words, felt the tremors, and heard the endless rumble. His face grew increasingly grim. Whether this underground palace was destroyed or not didn't matter to him. What he cared about was how to strike Zhang Daozong once the palace collapsed and the cultivators of the Green Devil continent surged in. But what truly unsettled him was that Zhang Daozong could seal heaven and earth once. That meant he could seal it a second time, a third, even a fourth. Each sealing was targeted at him, and that was deeply troublesome. From this, Wang Lin judged that the Green Devil continent had already marked him. What happened in the alchemy sea was no doubt known to them. In fact, it was highly likely that the 4 mid-void tribulation stage monsters had come specifically for him. This time, breaking into the 3rd celestial bull lair is one of their goals. But the other is to kill me. Their plan must be meticulous, leaving me not even the SL in that case. If he wanted to survive the coming crisis while still being able to strike back, he had to make himself stronger, at the fastest possible speed, by any means necessary. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed as he set all his thoughts and spirit into motion, searching for a way to become stronger. It had been a long time since he had felt this way. Only the constant threat of life and death could drive him, Wang Lin, to grow to this point over more than 2,000 years. As he pondered, outside, among the more than 1,000 cultivators, a few hundred remained silent. The rest grew louder and more frantic as the rumbling overhead intensified. Finally, led by someone unseen, they surged forward in a wave, surrounding the outer palaces of the underground palace. Great venerables of the void tribulation, what should we do now? The cultivators of the Green Devil continent are about to break in. How are we supposed to resist? Do we have reinforcements? If so, when will they come? If not, are we just supposed to sit here and wait to die? Great venerables, give us an answer. Give us some hope. If there's no answer, we can't just wait for death. I'd rather surrender to the green. The man who shouted this last was middle-aged, his face twisted with anger, but his eyes revealed only fear and despair. Yet before he could finish, his eyes bulged wide. His body shot out of the crowd against his will, his hands clutching his throat as he struggled madly. It was as if a pair of invisible hands pressed his own fingers tight against his neck, strangling him with merciless force. No matter how he fought, it was useless. With a thunderous boom, his body suddenly collapsed, bursting into a cloud of hot blood mist that spread in all directions. The spray fell across the faces of the 1,000 cultivators, silencing every voice instantly. What's the panic? A cold, sinister voice echoed from within the palace. Out stepped Lu Wenran, pale-faced, missing one arm, but his eyes were dark and sharp as he walked slowly out. Behind him followed Yin Luan, her face ashen, speckled with bloodstains across her torn robes. She looked utterly battered, silently trailing him. Beside her was Su Dongda, equally haggard, clearly gravely wounded in the last battle's final moments. Behind the three came the trio of void tribulation cultivators from sects near the extreme heaven grasslands. Each one looked dim and drained, quietly following. Led by Lu Wenran, the group of void tribulation cultivators flew into the air above the underground palace. Among them was Elder Zhou, whose pale face betrayed his exhaustion as he brought up the rear. Lu Wenran swept his gaze across the ground. His heart carried a faint thrill of excitement, but he paid no attention to the surrounding cave mansions, only giving them a cursory glance. It's not yet the most dangerous moment, but if anyone dares disturb the morale of the Heavenly Bull Continent's army again, don't blame me, Lu, for being ruthless. Elder Zhou, speak to them. Lu Wenran's voice was cold as he turned to the elder at the back. Elder Zhou trembled, quickly nodding. Looking down at the crowd, his expression grew complicated. With a quiet sigh, he clasped his fists in salute before speaking. Fellow Taoists, I am the one responsible for this underground palace of the extreme heaven grasslands. Most of you have seen me before. Get to the point. Lu Wenran's brow furrowed. Elder Zhou's body flinched, and he immediately rushed into explanation. It is like this. Although there are 6 mid-void tribulation monsters outside, the 3rd celestial bull lair still holds a final method. If we unleash it, we can strike back to kill them, or at the very least ensure everyone can safely escape. So there is no need to panic. This final method requires everyone here to contribute their full cultivation to summon the Heavenly Ox Soul. That soul will form the soul armor. Once worn, the Heavenly Ox Soul will descend upon the wearer, raising their cultivation for a short time to a terrifying level. Elder Zhou spoke quickly. The moment his words fell, the more than 1,000 cultivators below all drew sharp breaths. None had ever heard of such a thing before. Many had even doubted whether the Heavenly Ox truly existed, dismissing it as mere rumor across the Heavenly Bull continent. But now, hearing this, it seemed the Heavenly Ox was real. Its soul could be summoned, and cultivation could skyrocket. Because wearing the Heavenly Ox soul armor comes with great danger, the great venerables of the Void Tribulation discussed and agreed that Elder Lu, whose cultivation is highest and whose contributions are greatest, should wear it. At those words, deep within a distant cave mansion, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with a strange light. He did not believe for a moment that if true danger existed, Lu Wenran would volunteer to wear the soul armor. There had to be some hidden benefit. Otherwise, Lu Wenran would never agree. Fellow Taoists, though the soul armor carries risk, now is the crisis of our Heavenly Bull continent. How could I, Lu, out of fear of danger, let another step forward in my place? The more dangerous the task, the more it should be mine to shoulder. If one day I fall because of this soul armor, then I only ask one thing of you all. On that day each year, bring a jug of aged wine in my name. Inside, Lu Wenran's excitement nearly burst free, but his expression carried sorrow, tinged with the sense of one casting everything aside for the sake of others. His words made Yin Luan, standing behind him, show a trace of scorn that was almost imperceptible in his eyes. But this matter was not something just anyone could obtain. Only after forming a bond with the Tianyo soul could one achieve it. And the deeper the bond, the more terrifying the surge in cultivation. Though the increase was temporary, once touched, it would make breaking through to that realm again in the future far easier than for ordinary cultivators. Yet such opportunities were exceedingly rare, appearing only when every sect on the Heavenly Bull continent, faced with an invasion crisis, joined together to activate the 7 acupoints formation of the Heavenly Bull. Most crucial of all, summoning the Tianyo soul must never be done too often. Excessive calls would cause it to dissipate on a grand scale, shaking the very foundation of the Heavenly Bull continent and even affecting mortal lives. Even knowing this, there were always those mad enough to ignore the ruin of countless lives and forcefully stir the power. Should that happen, such a person and all who followed them would surely suffer punishment from the royal family. This decree had resounded across the land of the Immortal clan for millions of years. None dared defy it. Break it, and one man dies, one sect dies, one continent dies. The order was absolute. Unless the very survival of an entire continent's cultivators was at stake, the souls sealing the beasts beyond the heavens could not be harmed. Yet now, with the invasion of the Green Devil continent's cultivators, that ancient law had begun to waver. This chance, Yinluan craved it. Su Dongda craved it as well. Even the 3 dim-faced Void Tribulation cultivators longed for it desperately. But they could not contend with Lu Wenran. Even with his cultivation weakened by injury, his contributions in this battle silenced them. Above the underground palace, muffled thunder still rolled, the sound like a scythe of death poised to strike and carve away life. Fellow Taoists, sit cross-legged and release all your cultivation. Let your divine sense project toward the Heavenly Bull. Together with me, use this formation to summon forth the phantom of the Tianyo soul. Lu Wenran's heart trembled with exhilaration. He had waited for this chance far too long. He knew the soul armor carried danger, but not overly so. And more importantly, if he missed this, the next chance might not come for countless ages. This time, including himself, 7 would be chosen from the 7 caves of the Heavenly Bull. These 7 would rise to legendary prominence across the Heavenly Bull continent. At his command, over 1,000 cultivators below fell silent. After a brief pause, they sat cross-legged one by one. There was no other choice. Behind Lu Wenran, Yinluan and the others, unwilling as they were, could only sigh in defeat and sit as well. In that vast space, only Lu Wenran remained standing, excitement flashing in his eyes, impossible to conceal. He looked toward Elder Zhou and gave a nod. Elder Zhou dared not refuse. Hastily forming hand seals, he muttered incantations only he could hear. His cultivation was lacking, yet he had been stationed here as the overseer precisely because his constitution was exceptionally suited to communicating with the Tianyo soul. Here, much like the green demon envoys, his title was that of a heavenly bull attendant. Meanwhile, Wang Lin sat cross-legged in his cave mansion. His eyes flickered, but he did not act rashly. He chose to wait. Outside, Elder Zhou bit the tip of his tongue, spraying blood. With his right hand, he seized the blood and shaped it into a crimson seal. Sacred soul of the heavenly bull, by my blood, return to us. His voice rang solemnly as he thrust the blood seal forward. In that instant, endless crimson light erupted, flooding the cave mansion and the underground palace. Fellow Taoists, pour your cultivation into this light. Elder Zhou barked in a low roar. At his command, the 1,000 cultivators seated below released their entire cultivation. Ripples spread across the earth, layer upon layer, until the last of them had given all. Pain twisted their faces as every shred of their cultivation was drawn into the crimson radiance. The boundless blood light, having devoured the strength of more than 1,000 cultivators, recoiled suddenly, surging straight into the glowing seal. With a thunderous boom, the forces fused, and a gray, murky fog spread across heaven, and the mist, centered on that blood-red mark, coiled above the underground palace, slowly forming a massive vortex. The whirlpool twisted and began to turn faster and faster. With its rotation came deafening echoes. To the naked eye, the depths of the vortex seemed to open into a strange dimension, from which furious roars, filled with overwhelming resentment, burst forth in a frenzy. Roar! The moment the sound erupted, the entire underground palace shook violently. Below, more than 1,000 cultivators were struck directly in their hearts and minds. Their faces turned pale, and all spat blood at once, their spirits withering. Even Yin Luan and the others could not hide their alarm when they heard it. That sound, it was the roar of the heavenly bull. Lu Wenran's excitement could no longer be contained, his expression laid bare. Fixing his gaze on the strange dimension within the vortex, listening to that roar, he broke out in wild laughter. His exhilaration had reached its peak. Desire and greed flared in his eyes. He knew that soon, he would gain a burst of cultivation power. Temporary, yes, but of immense benefit to his future. Inside his cave mansion, Wang Lin stared at the vortex in the heavens. The roar that pierced into his mind was one he knew well. The blood-red mark was the first step in summoning the heavenly ox soul. The power of more than 1,000 cultivators had formed the vortex that opened a path to the sealed space of the heavenly bull. That was the second step. Fellow Taoists, each of you, offer 9 taels and 9 qian of blood, not more, not less. Condense it at the tip of your right index finger. Elder Zhou raised his hand, and with a flick, a wound appeared at his fingertip. Instantly, exactly 9 taels and 9 qian of blood shot forth. At the same time, all 1,000 cultivators raised their right hands. At this point, retreat was impossible. Following Elder Zhou's command, each forced out the same precise amount of blood, transforming it into streaks of scarlet arrows that shot into the air. The torrents of blood fused together in an instant, forming a blood-red chain. The chain swept across heaven and earth, one end lashing into the vortex and plunging into its depths. Then, with a violent pull, it hooked something within that strange dimension. The heavenly bull's roar thundered again. As the chain tugged, it was as though it sought to wrench the very soul of the heavenly bull from its prison. The roars grew fiercer. Lu Wenran's excitement mounted. He licked his lips, eyes burning with unquenchable hunger. This is mine. This is Lu Wenran's. With this heavenly ox soul armor, I can carve my way out of here. Though its power is short-lived, during this war I will never give it back so easily. His face trembled with fervor. He had waited for this moment far too long. His hostility toward Wang Lin, in truth, stemmed from the Azure Ox Patriarch's favor toward him, a threat Lu Wenran could not ignore. Being sent here together only deepened that resentment, pushing Lu Wenran to act as he had before. The blood-red chain strained with endless force. From within the vortex, the bull's roar grew clearer. A faint shadow of an ox began to emerge, dragged out bit by the chain. But the process stalled. The chain faltered, unable to pull further. Seeing this, Liu Wenran's eyes flashed with icy light. Elder Zhou, he snapped his head toward the old man, then cast a chilling glance at Yin Luan and the others behind him. Elder Zhou forced a bitter smile. Gritting his teeth, he cupped his fists toward Yin Luan and the others. The heavenly ox soul refuses to emerge. Great venerables, I beg you, release your essence spirits and summon it with me. Without hesitation, Elder Zhou slapped his brow. With a booming sound, his essence spirit burst forth, transforming into a miniature figure that flew straight into the vortex and grabbed the chain. At the same time, under Liu Wenran's bloodshot, threatening gaze, 3 cultivators in the early void tribulation stage from sects near the extreme heaven grasslands reluctantly closed their eyes. Sitting cross-legged, they released their essence spirits, which flew to Elder Zhou's side and seized the chain. Elder Yin Luan, Elder Dongda. Liu Wenran turned to the two of them, cold light flickering in his eyes. Yin Luan sighed deeply, then exchanged a look with Su Dongda. Without further hesitation, both sat cross-legged, releasing their essence spirits, which joined the others to seize the chain. With the combined might of 5 void tribulation great venerables, and guided by Elder Zhou's essence spirit, they gave a fierce collective pull. From within the massive vortex, the heavenly bull unleashed a sky-shaking roar. The sound tore through the underground palace, shaking even the land above. And then, a colossal phantom of the heavenly bull was wrenched from the vortex. Its terrifying pressure instantly flooded the surroundings. The moment it appeared, radiant light erupted in all directions, drawing the gaze of every cultivator below. In breathless shock, they watched as the heavenly bull phantom contracted at great speed, until at last, it condensed into a suit of armor. Hovering motionless, the armor gleamed with an eerie, shadowy hue, emanating waves of soul energy. Its power was immense. The moment the armor appeared, Yin Luan and the others felt their essence spirits return to their bodies. Their eyes snapped open, filled with mixed emotions as they looked toward it. Liu Wenran burst into loud laughter and strode directly toward the armor. This soul armor of the 3 heavenly bull acupoints belongs to me, Liu Wenran. But just as he was about to step forward, a streak of light, like a long rainbow, bursting forth with power that had been held back for so long, shot out from a nearby cave mansion, heading straight for the armor. The soul armor belongs to you? I don't agree. Yin Luan's eyes narrowed, a flash of delight crossing her face. For reasons even she couldn't explain, compared to Liu Wenran, she found herself hoping Wang Lin would be the one to claim the soul armor. Elder Zhou's expression shifted dramatically, fear flickering in his eyes. Su Dongda's gaze grew strange as he stared at Wang Lin, seemingly deep in thought. The other 3 void tribulation cultivators nearby also had their eyes flash with curiosity, paying closer attention to the unfolding events. Below, over 1,000 cultivators froze in shock. None of them had expected such a sudden twist, that someone would openly oppose Liu Wenran's claim the instant the soul armor appeared. After all, though Liu Wenran was injured, his cultivation remained formidable. For an ordinary cultivator to challenge him was unthinkable. The moment Wang Lin's words rang out, his figure flickered, and with his long-prepared shrinking earth technique, he appeared instantly before the soul armor, blocking Liu Wenran's advance. Wang Lin. Liu Wenran's eyes blazed with madness and killing intent. He hadn't expected Wang Lin to be here, alive, inside the underground palace. He had spotted Wang Lin earlier while escaping through the earth and had deliberately sealed the ground behind him, hoping to let others finish Wang Lin off. But now, seeing Wang Lin alive, and worse, daring to stand in his way over the soul armor, his killing intent was completely unrestrained. You dare block me? You're seeking death. Liu Wenran charged toward Wang Lin, his right hand raised as his mid-void tribulation stage cultivation erupted violently. In front of all these witnesses, you dare strike me? Wang Lin's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. I am an elder of the Great Soul Sect, appointed here by the Azure Ox Patriarch himself to guard this place. You dare start an internal feud and injure me? Are you not afraid of the great soul sect's pursuit? Not afraid of the Azure Ox Patriarch's wrath? Not afraid that, from this day forward, you'll have no place left for yourself on the Heavenly Bull continent because you slaughtered your fellow sect member during wartime? Wang Lin stood firm, making no move to dodge, his voice booming like thunder. At his words, the 1,000 cultivators below finally remembered. The Great Soul sect had sent 4 elders here, not just Liu Wenran, Yin Luan, and Su Dongda. There was a 4th, Wang Lin. Liu Wenran's expression changed instantly, his steps faltering for just a moment. Wang Lin seized the opportunity, leaning back slightly and touching the soul armor, but there was no sign of fusion. The unexpected result made his eyes narrow. Liu Wenran's gaze locked on Wang Lin, filled with killing intent and mocking disdain. The soul armor hasn't completed its final step. You can't fuse with it. It doesn't matter if I can't, Wang Lin replied calmly, staring at Liu Wenran. But you won't be the one to fuse with it either. Since entering the underground palace, Wang Lin had kept a low profile, so much so that many had forgotten he was also an elder of the Great Soul sect. But now, he abandoned all restraint, projecting open arrogance. His words and actions instantly drew the attention of every cultivator below. One after another, their eyes widened in shock. Many of them couldn't understand how someone with Wang Lin's cultivation dared oppose Liu Wenran. Yet Wang Lin's sharp words cut deeper than any weapon, leaving Liu Wenran unable to act rashly. For as Wang Lin said, if Liu Wenran struck here and now, unless he could kill every single witness, word would inevitably spread. The Great Soul sect would never forgive him. Even if everyone here were silenced, the Azure Ox Patriarch could still deduce the truth. And once the truth came to light, Liu Wenran would be hunted to the ends of the Heavenly Bull continent. Thinking of that, a chill ran down his spine. He dared not move recklessly. So it's Elder Wang, Liu Wenran said slowly, his tone shifting. When you appeared so suddenly, I thought some outsider had infiltrated, trying to seize the soul armor. That's why I acted. Now that I know it's you, it was clearly a misunderstanding. No matter, Wang Lin said evenly. Since Elder Liu acknowledges his mistake, I naturally won't hold a grudge. However, Elder Liu, I still cannot allow you to claim this soul armor. Beneath the sleeve hiding his severed arm, Liu Wenran's fist clenched tightly, though a faint smile curved his lips. Oh, then who do you believe should claim it, Elder Wang? You perhaps? Liu Wenran's tone shifted again, probing for weakness. If you want it for yourself, then your earlier actions make sense, he said with feigned calmness. But to risk the lives of over 1,000 cultivators here for your personal gain, Elder Wang, it seems I've underestimated you. However, even if you disagree, even if you want it for yourself, you must ask everyone whether you have such qualifications. LV Wenran, with profound cultivation and an extraordinary mind, in just a few words completely offset Wang Lin's earlier momentum and his own lapse, and even turned the tables. I think Elder Wang has the qualifications. At the moment LV Wenran's words fell, Yin Luan suddenly spoke. His voice was soft, but it rolled through the underground palace and caused everyone to tremble. As he spoke, Yin Luan smiled slightly at Wang Lin. Elder Yin Luan, you must take responsibility for your words. LV Wenran's eyes narrowed. He fixed his gaze on Yin Luan, and his expression turned cold. Not needing Elder LV to remind him, Yin Luan naturally knows. Yin Luan looked at LV Wenran and spoke slowly. Su Dongda also thinks Elder Wang has this qualification. Su Dongda suddenly spoke from the side. With his words, more than 1,000 cultivators below instantly stirred. You must know a Void Tribulation cultivator's words carry weight, but now 2 Void Tribulation Great Venerables spoke in agreement, which was enough to illustrate the matter. Moreover, they are both Great Soul sect elders. Good. LV Wenran's chill grew even thicker. His gaze swept over Su Dongda, and his inner anger had risen to a certain degree. 3 of you. Do you also think Elder Wang's cultivation qualifies him to obtain the soul armor? Would you hand over the lives of more than 1,000 companions below to a cultivator of this level? LV Wenran glared at the 3 Void Tribulation cultivators from nearby sects, grinding his teeth as he spoke. The 3 fell silent. LV Wenran did not want to offend, but likewise Yin Luan and Su Dongda did not want to offend, After all, these people were all elders of the Great Soul sect. As for Wang Lin, they three did not place much importance on him. The silence of the three great venerables made Xun'er sneer. His gaze swept down to the 1,000-odd cultivators below. Wherever his eyes passed, everyone lowered their heads, not daring to utter a word at this moment. Since others are silent, and Elder Yin Luan and Elder Su Dong think Wang has this qualification, Elder LV, what do you think? Wang Lin had remained calm throughout, and now spoke slowly. LV Wenran stared at Wang Lin for a long moment, then suddenly smiled. His anger instantly dissipated, returning to calm. If Elder Wang truly has the qualification, then the choice now lies between you and me. I'd like to know what your reason is for not allowing me to obtain the soul armor. This war, your contribution isn't enough, Wang Lin coldly replied. LV Wenran, upon hearing this, burst into laughter. My contribution isn't enough? I led you to counterattack twice. I led you back to the underground palace. In the first battle, I held back the opponent's mid-void tribulation cultivators. In the second battle, I did the same. If it weren't for me, this place wouldn't even have more than 1,000 cultivators left. We'd likely have been slaughtered to death long ago. Not enough contribution? Then Elder Wang, I'll ask you, what contribution do you have? Wang Lin did not hesitate. With a flip of his right hand, the head of Lu Ziyuan materialized in his palm, and he lifted it with a single motion. He is Lu Ziyuan, a void tribulation cultivator from the Green Devil continent. You should have seen him. I killed him. With that head appearing, the underground palace fell silent at once, but soon a wave of upheaval rose. Everyone on Heavenly Bull continent knew about the death of the Green Devil continent's void tribulation cultivator, and among them there had been countless guesses as to who killed the other void tribulation cultivator. But the question had remained unanswered until now. In this instant, upon seeing that head and hearing Wang Lin's calm 4 words, I killed him, their minds trembled, their expressions showing awe and disbelief. That's him. He killed the other side's void tribulation cultivator. This is impossible. His cultivation clearly isn't at profound void, yet he killed a void tribulation. To kill a void tribulation cultivator in such a short time, this man's cultivation must be hidden. He surely isn't as weak as he appears. He's also a Great Soul Sect elder. How could he be weak? The Great Soul Sect sent him here with a plan. It couldn't be as simple as sending someone to death. This man is very low-key, not contending for a residence, but choosing a cave dwelling like us. Someone like that, if he obtains the soul armor, would also be possible. Apart from those below, Yin Luan, upon seeing that head, indeed had some guesses, yet he still drew a deep breath and his gaze toward Wang Lin changed dramatically. Indeed, it is him. Beside him, Su Dong's pupils also contracted, his mind set aflutter. As for the 3 nearby sect void tribulation cultivators, they were all greatly astonished, their expressions showing disbelief as they all turned sharply to look at Wang Lin. Elder Zhou's heart gave a sudden jolt, and he froze in place. In his mind, the image of the destroyed, still unrepaired entrance to the other party's cave mansion surfaced without warning. Voices of discussion rose and fell like waves, each word landing clearly in Lu Wenran's ears. His once calm expression wavered as his gaze locked onto the severed head in Wang Lin's right hand, the head still carrying traces of unwillingness and fear from the moment of death. His spirit trembled. He knew perfectly well that if this matter continued to spread unchecked, the credit would inevitably end up nearly equal to his own. Such a thing was absolutely intolerable. Elder Wang jests, Lu Wenran said with forced calm. I personally witnessed it. At that moment, it was a senior of unfathomable cultivation who struck, killed this man, tossed the corpse aside, and departed without a word. Who would have thought that you would actually sever this head and bring it?